Tez Johnson out of Oregon was the lightest player to weigh in at the combine this year, but still posted a 4.51 40-yard dash, which was incredibly disappointing. However, his three-cone drill was the fastest of any wide receiver, showing that whilst he might not have explosive long speed, he is incredibly shifty and great in open space, which is the same thing you saw when you watched film. It depends on whether you're happy with a wide receiver this small. If you enjoy this content, please consider liking and subscribing. But let's take a little bit of a deep dive into the smallest wide receiver in this class. There is definitely a lot to like when you watch Tez Johnson, and it's very interesting watching him after the combine performance, where beforehand I probably would have highlighted the long speed as a strength, but after seeing the 40-yard dash it's very difficult to say so. A lot of people are going to be out on this prospect purely because of the size, but I wanted to watch with an objective eye and just see what I saw as a wide receiver. And the shiftiness, both throughout the route and in open space, were incredibly exciting to me. He has an ability to just move differently throughout the route, but also it means that when he secures the ball, as you'll have seen in the clips at the beginning of this video, he's very, very difficult to bring down. Now, obviously, with a wide receiver of this size, if you can get hands on him, you're going to be able to bring him down incredibly easily. But his lateral agility was incredibly impressive, and this does make him a very crafty route runner. I also think he has some great intelligent traits as well. He has the spatial awareness to understand zone coverage, find the holes and sit down in them to become open early for a quarterback. I also think he has really good acceleration and change of direction skills. So whilst the long speed might not quite be there, he has great burst and explosiveness, which helps him to get open relatively early. If you can use him in a variety of different ways, such as out of the slot or working horizontally across the field, this is definitely someone who can have a role in the NFL. Then when it comes to his route running, I think he's incredibly crafty. I think there are a lot of high-level IQ moves that he uses throughout the route, whether it's uses of tempo, head fakes, a few different things that show me that he knows how to get open and how to win. And that's incredibly important because he's not going to be winning with physicality. Obviously, because of the size, this is going to be a limited player. You're not going to see him winning in contested catch situations, but I definitely think there's a role for someone like Tez in the NFL. When it comes to weaknesses, you don't need me to tell you that being 5'10", 154 pounds are going to be an issue when it gets to the NFL. We just don't have a huge amount of sample size of wide receivers who have succeeded with this tiny, tiny frame. But I think the main place where it's going to cause an issue is that slender frame means that you're not going to be able to absorb contact in the same way, and it just limits the way that you can work as a wide receiver. Some of the things that I look for when I like to scout receivers are positional versatility and ability to work all three levels of the field. And this is something you're just not really going to see from Tez. He's not really going to be able to work on the boundary. He's going to have to work over the middle of the field. But if you use him in a way that means he's going to have to absorb contact and work his way through traffic, he's going to struggle with that as well. So it's someone that knows how to get open, but they're going to have to be open in order to succeed in the league. The other thing which was a problem from him is that I don't think he's a natural hands catcher, and this is a problem when he has such a small wingspan. It just means that it limits his catch radius, so passes have to be on target in order for him to be able to grab them. This isn't someone that's able to pluck a ball from outside their frame, as their frame is so small. And he's just not great at being able to reach outside his body and grab something with his hands. He tends to let passes come into his body more often than not. So that piled together is just a bit too much of a weakness in terms of the way that you can use Tez Johnson. Obviously, you'll have seen his combine performance, and the 40 was relatively worrying. Now, I've highlighted this here because it was disappointing, but when I watched his film, the long speed didn't actually seem to be an issue. So I'm not 100% confident that the 40 is an accurate representation of who Tez is going to be at the NFL level, even if I don't think he is a full speedster archetype. For playstyle comparison, I currently have Tank Dell, but the more I think about it, the more I think it might actually be Greg Dortch, and I think it might settle somewhere between the two. Tank Dell is definitely shifty, but I think he's a much better catcher than Tez Johnson. So I think he's probably slightly higher ceiling prospect. But one of the reasons you include Tank Dell is look at the amount that he's been injured through his career. Now, obviously, some of these have been freak accidents, like, for example, getting shot. But when you look at his just inability to have contact, to take contact and stay healthy, this is something you might unfortunately see with Tez when he gets to the NFL. Greg Dortch is also a relatively good comparison in terms of play style because it's someone who is potentially going to be a PPR weapon, but unlikely to ever have a full-time role in the NFL. This is more likely going to be a wide receiver 3 or 4 and someone that you use in specific situations rather than someone with a full workload and someone that you're going to see, 100 plus targets a year. In terms of projected draft capital, he's currently predicted to go at the back of the third. I wouldn't be surprised if this drops down slightly later, just because he is a very specific type of prospect, and it does require a team to fall in love with him. I'm hoping that team isn't going to be the Rams, because he's very similar to Tutu Atwell, and we just managed to get rid of him. He's just a slower version of Tutu Atwell. Then in terms of rookie draft value, and this is in both formats, I think you can take him in the late third. I probably wouldn't take him much earlier there. I think some people are going to fall in love with this prospect because he's very shifty, and there's a chance that he has a relatively high floor just because of that route running ability. I just think that there's a chance he gets absolutely destroyed in the NFL and can't really stay healthy, and I think the upside isn't really there for him to see a full workload. So if he's available at the start of the first, which he likely will be, I'm probably going to move in a different way. And that's really going to be regardless of landing spot, unless a team falls absolutely in love with him and wants to profile him as the wide receiver 2. But I don't know how they're going to manage to do that because I think he's going to take one hit from Bobby Wagner and be laid out cold for the next 4 weeks. Which, to be fair, any of us would be as well. It's not just Tez. I'd love to know your thoughts on Tez Johnson down below in the comments. I know he's going to have some fans, and I know he's going to have some people that wouldn't touch him with a stick. And if you're here, drop me a subscribe and make sure to check out all of the other rookie profiles available on my channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.